Let's see if we're live on any.
That's what I'm wondering.
Welcome everyone to this evening's broadcast of Punished for Protecting Live. Tonight we have a story about foster care, and we'd like you to go ahead and invite all your friends list to this episode of Punished for Protecting Foster Care, Lies and Truth of Foster Care. Lies and Truth of Foster Care. You can find us on Facebook at Punished for Protecting News. I'd like to ask you guys to please share this live, share it with your friends list, as I am not on my normal Facebook page. So we ask you to please share and invite your friends list. This is a very powerful piece tonight about a young man that lived a large portion of his life in foster care. And without further ado, here we are. We have this evening Josh, we have his grandpa Don and his mom Storm. Just want to welcome you guys for being on Punished for Protecting tonight. We had a little bit of a rough start getting on here this evening. But I did a pre-interview earlier with Josh about like a week and a half ago, I believe, right, Josh?
Yes.
And Josh, why don't you tell everybody your age, and why don't you give a little bit of your backstory, and then we can go ahead and introduce your mom and your grandpa.
Okay. My name is Joshua Schilling. I'm 17 years old. I was first placed in the foster care system when I was 11. Me and my little sister Chloe, we were both placed in the same foster home, without any knowledge of what was going on. My oldest sister, Brittany, she was placed in a different foster home and still did not know why we were separated. And that's about it.
So Josh, you got to spend a short period of time with your little sister, and then suddenly she was separated from you. Yes,
well, I was taken out of that foster home and placed in a boys' home for abuse and neglect.
You were placed in a boys' home for abuse and neglect. Do you have any idea whatsoever, not now, but then, did you have any idea whatsoever, or did you know that there was abuse going on in your home, or that's what you were told, or did you know why you were there, anything?
No, the courts refused to let any of my family tell me what was going on, and they never spoke or told me anything about the situation.
Never told you.
No, everything was always advised to make sure that, I wasn't being informed about anything.
You weren't informed about anything. So they didn't question you about abuse then?
Oh, no, they've questioned me about abuse, but they didn't give me any information about. They didn't tell you? Yeah, they didn't tell me anything, but I've questioned a lot, yes.
You were questioned a lot, and your answer was always? Like, did they question you about specific family members? Your mom, your dad, your uncle, anybody?
Yes, it was about my stepdad.
Who was it?
Jeremiah, Dewey. And they
okay, so it was about your stepdad, Jeremiah, and sitting next to you here is your stepdad's father. Yes?
Yes.
Don? Okay, so I want to kind of get this part of the story out so the viewing audience can understand. And again, you guys really want to share this far and wide. This isn't urgent for the movement. This is urgent for the family revolution. This is urgent that all advocates all over see this and understand as we're trying to raise as much public awareness of what really goes on the iPod. We have mom. So you were questioned at what age again were you? When
I was
you were
11.
Taken away.
I was 11.
11 years old, you were taken away. Now, I don't even want to have to go over all the emotions and everything that you went through. I understand all the social science research and all the the psychological effects and the damages that it causes and the pain and the suffering. And we can talk a little bit about that. But you were questioned mostly about your stepdad. So were you questioned ever about your mom's behavior?
No.
You were never questioned about your mom. Okay. And were you outspoken about like your feelings towards your mom and your love for your mom to these people that question you?
Yes, they tried to. They've said things that weren't true. Like, I didn't want to have any contact with my mom because of this situation and whatnot, and that was not true at all.
Okay, so they would actually tell your mom that you wanted nothing to do with her.
Yes.
And you're saying that wasn't true at all. So would you ask them to please let you see your mom or go home?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
How many years did you?
Excuse me?
You wanted to go home.
Oh.
For how many years did you beg to go home?
Oh, a lot of years. Jeez. It was about 3 years.
And what about your stepdad? Did you have a good relationship with your stepdad?
I did. I didn't even look at him as a stepdad. I looked at him as if he was my own father.
So that's how much you loved him.
Yeah.
Definitely. And you never felt like he was abusive in any way, shape, or form?
Not at all.
Did they try to convince you that he was?
Yes. Yeah, they tried to tell me that. Well, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I understand. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they tried to tell
We're gonna
me
get a little deep.
that he wasn't a good guy, that, I shouldn't have ever been around him, and whatnot.
So you would talk and say how this man was fine, and they just didn't want to believe you. They chose not to believe you.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Grandpa now. That's your son, okay? I'm saying that to let them know. What do you want to add to this right now before we go to Mom?
Well, basically, I've been involved in this from day one. And what they did with Joshua really angered me, because they basically wanted to get him out of the picture to prevent him from testifying in Jeremiah's case. They had it all set up that they were going to convict him, no if, and, or, but, and do whatever they had to do. They fabricated evidence, they lied, they committed perjury, they hid evidence. One of the things that they kept saying was, when Brittany was 7 years old, that Jeremiah had sexually molested her way back then, which was back in 2005. The thing of it is, there was no physical evidence that Brittany was sexually molested back in 2005. There were 3 doctors' reports that said the rash Brittany had, the reason she was taken to the doctor, they were claiming that it was herpes. The 3 doctors that examined Brittany or looked at medical records and stuff said, no, it is not. They hid that information from the jury and from us. We didn't find out about this information until 2017. And then once we found out, we've been trying to get it inputted into the Court of Appeals, the Michigan State Supreme Court, and they keep ignoring it. I keep pushing it forward. They keep pushing it back. Right now, there is an appeal going on. Jeremiah was assigned another appeal attorney who's supposed to be an expert in criminal sexual conduct, but the only thing she's willing to appeal is the extreme sentence Jeremiah got, which was 22 to 40 years. Not the fact that he's innocent, not the fact that there's no evidence that shows any sexual molestation went on at any point in time. None of that stuff they want to look at. All they want to do is try and placate us by saying, hey, we're going to reduce his sentence. We're only going to give him 10 years. That's not going to help us. He's innocent. We want him freed.
Yeah. Yes. And you also have a Facebook page of his innocence, correct? That you
Correct. Jeremiah Dewey is innocent is his Facebook page. There's lots of information in there. I'll tell you, just like I keep telling everybody else, nobody has to believe me. don't believe me about anything. Just give me a good email address. I'll electronically send you the official court transcripts that are on there, the evidence that is in written format that is on there. You make up your own opinion.
Mhm. Well, now here's the thing that I deal with every single day, every single day, every single day, and every single advocate that's been doing this has dealt with this. So I say this all the time, and I'm going to pull that page up for everybody to see in a minute here. I say this every day. I deal with this every day. False allegations is the bread and butter of this industry, this child trafficking industry.
Yes.
Whether and the suffering and the pain, like Joshua right now. Here, I'm pulling up this page. You know, I know it's hard to talk about this, but it's important that we're doing this for everybody. I want people everywhere to see, hear, understand, and know what goes on in this vile, evil, and wicked system. But look at everybody here right now, and everybody knows me. I despise the word victim. We weren't put here to be victims, and yet we're victims of this system, and we need to all be in this together to fight it. Here's Jeremiah Dewey is innocent page. But you know, everybody that I'm looking at right now, all the viewers, that what you're seeing right now, this family, you just heard the son clearly say he's never harmed you, yet you were taken from your mother, you were taken from your grandpa who clearly loves you. Years of all these lives were victimized, years. You can never repay the years. You can never get it back. Okay? And what they're doing, what they're continuing to do, and what we see in these courts. Now, I know of real victims of different types of abuses. I did over 70 cases with all kinds of medical, sexual forensics and everything, and they ignored it all here. I know people on a personal level ignore it. They ignore real abuse, and they make up stories that are not true. They're just out to tear up families. It's what they're doing. It's what they're doing. And I shout this every day from the rooftops, 24 hours a day. I don't believe in this system. I have zero faith in this system. It is evil. It is evil. Mom, I know I know this is hard, and I know I haven't even had a chance to talk to you at all. I want to hear from you, because one of the things your son told me is that they told him that you didn't want him. And you climbed over walls to get to your child. Okay? Talk about that.
I went above and beyond what they've asked me to do. I did their work for them. I didn't realize I was doing it. I'm sorry. This is just really hard.
It's fine. It's fine. And it's hard to tell these stories, but it's important.
I know.
And I'm proud of all of you for telling it. Proud of all of you.
It's been 6 years of hell, I tell ya.
It's also healing. Can I tell you it's also healing? I listen to people all the time. I'm listening, and a lot of times I'm just listening because people need to know that they're not insane. It's really a big part of the healing process to know there's nothing wrong with any of you, and none of us are crazy. This is really going on. Can all these people be wrong about what's happening to their families? And even if there's abuse in some of these situations, they're not handling it right. Why is the whole family being ripped apart from each other? No communication to each other. They do everything they can to keep you all from talking to each other, from communicating, so that the truth can come forward. So, and in any cases where there really is abuse, they leave those children in homes. They leave them in homes, or they give them to the abusers.
Oh, I know.
So this
I
is
don't
not
get it.
that they're trying to protect kids. They're not trying to protect kids. They make money off of children.
Kids for cash, yeah.
Kids for cash.
No.
Go ahead, Mom.
Well, March of 2013, my oldest daughter did an allegation against Jeremiah. When I heard the news from her over the phone, I removed her immediately. I kept my other two in because neither one has made any allegations of any inappropriate touching. We tried taking her to a child psychologist to find out, for her to tell her story and to find out what was going on. And March 27th, the police And CPS had showed up at the Dewey's farmhouse and had an order for temporary termination for the children to remove the premises. They removed my children. The next day, March 28th, 9:00 a.m., we had a court hearing. We did our hearing. We had a meeting afterwards. And the paperwork went from temporary termination to permanent termination. Everybody in that courthouse knew the story before any of us were able to tell our story. And it didn't matter what our story was. They wanted their own story, and they were picking anywhere they could and to falsify anything that they could and make up medical records, which I called them out on it. I testified the best I could. I went above and beyond. I did a psychological evaluation. I did a substance abuse evaluation. I did personal counseling, joint counseling, but I could only do a couple joint counselings because the counselings were, I was too good in the counselings. I guess they didn't want me, or they didn't hear the words they wanted to hear. So they fabricated and made up stuff that happened in the couple meetings that we did have. When Joshua was placed in Eagle Village, for the first, I want to say 3 to 6 months, he was in prison. My son was locked up with one little tiny window, a bed, and a table. There was no handles on the doors. If he wanted to go to the bathroom, he had to bang on the wall.
Okay, hold on one second. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
I want to get this part very clear for everybody. You're talking about Joshua, who's here right now,
Correct.
who did absolutely nothing wrong. He
Did nothing wrong.
supposedly
He would not lie with CPS, so they had to take him far away as possible, even though he was a key person in what happened supposedly that day that it happened. And Joshua wasn't lying, and so they had to take him far, far, far away, and they would not let any family, only me, contact him.
Did they watch you like a hawk around him so you couldn't actually communicate?
Yes, we were under supervised visitations. It was all supervised. There was a worker with us at all times. We could not
supervised visitation, because I can tell you, I know this for a fact, they do not give supervised visits to people who really need it. Okay, and we have guidelines for that. We have guidelines for that. Okay, so I see this all the time. I've had to deal with it in my personal life. It's horrible. They literally don't supervise people that have true domestic violence, true child abuse, and substance abuse. They don't. They give unfettered access of children to them. Yet you had to be supervised for what? Like, what was the reason for you being supervised other than to keep you guys from communicating?
So that way, exactly, they were afraid I was going to talk to the kids about the case, which 100% I never, ever, ever talked to the kids about the case because I was told not to. I was crossing my T's, dotting my I's, making perfect circles to make sure I got these kids back. And it wasn't good enough.
It's not their goal. It's not their goal. There's no money or incentives in returning the children.
Exactly.
But I mean, here's the most important thing that I want all the advocates, especially, to share this. All the advocates that are out there fighting this every day. This is just one more story. As I'm literally having your story, I've got people writing me right now that they went through the foster care system and they want to tell their stories now of the horrors they dealt with in it and how they were lied to about their families. All kinds of right now. Guys, share this like crazy, because here you've got mom and son telling their story right now. There's a lot of points to this story. There's a lot going on here. A lot of deception that they put this family through, lied to them, separated them, wouldn't let them talk. But here's the main thing, the part that I wanted to get out there. And I tell families all the time, a lot of times children are Stockholm syndrome. So they really don't treat the parent that's the protective, loving, caring one the right way, because the anger is really towards the one that's abusing them or coercing them or that. The other case is that, as you see right here, mom did everything she could to get to him. He kept telling them you told everybody you loved your mother and wanted her. And they kept you lying to the two of you that you didn't want each other. What worse abuse is that from a system that claims that their child protective service